Amazing book. Matthew Dix illustrates, picks apart, and then reinforces how to find, craft, and tell your stories from small, everyday moments. Point 1. A story must reflect change over time. Otherwise, it's just a narration of events. It is not a story. You can tell a story from your perspective. It doesn't have to be your story. You can tell someone else's story from your perspective, and that creates connection with your audience. He talks about this concept. He does homework for life, where he has an Excel spreadsheet and he writes the date and then a couple sentences about what happened during his day, like one thing that was memorable for his day, maybe two. And it only takes him 5 minutes. And because he does this, he is much more easily able to find those moments that he wants to write about, that he considers story-worthy. And then he's able to document them and recall them later when he's trying to come up with content he wants to share and turn it into a story. It's a great way to document your life and come up with some of these moments he talks about. Point number 2, tell your stories naturally, like you're telling a friend over dinner, like I'm talking to you. Don't overly rehearse them. Don't memorize everything about them. You probably want to have your first couple lines and your last couple lines memorized, so that you can deliver them really strong and engage the audience. But then for the middle part of it, you want to know the points you want to be making, but you don't want to memorize every line like you're just reading it off of a teleprompter. That's not engaging for your audience. Point number 3, every life story that's worth telling revolves around 5-second life-altering moments. It can be something, when you fall in love, when you fall out of love, when you make a life-altering decision, when you change your beliefs about something, when you learn something new about yourself or someone else. Any of these really profound, life-changing moments that happen in our everyday lives, those are the stories. One of them could be, for example, let's say you're afraid of heights, for example. Well, you really want to get over this fear of heights. It's holding you back. There's stuff you want to do, but you got to get over this first. So what you could do is you could go to the gym and try climbing the rock wall at the gym. So if you're strapping on your harness and you are a little bit terrified, you're determined, but you are scared. You are scared to get up there because this is the heights, right? But you're determined, so you get everything you can and you climb up that wall knowing that there's a harness, there's someone spotting you. It's like you know consciously that you're okay, but you're trying to convince yourself of it, right? You don't really quite believe it. And then you get to the top and you realize what you're actually afraid of is not heights after all. It's missing out on things. It's having that fear hold you back so you wouldn't get to experience things. That can be a life-altering moment. That is a story-worthy moment where you can tell people, I did this, I was afraid of heights, and then I did this thing, and now what I'm most afraid of is not living life rather than heights. There you go. There's the before state, there's the after state, and there's the explaining and storyifying that moment. Leads into point 4, which is the beginning of your story should contrast with the end. Take that rock climber. At the beginning, you're afraid of heights. At the end, you're more afraid of missing out on things. You might still be a little bit afraid of heights. Probably not, though. You're more afraid of missing out on things. You have to show transition. Something has to happen. Otherwise, it is just a narration of events. So, contrast. Wherever your story ends, make sure that you start your story at the place of the opposite state. The fear of heights versus fear of missing out on things or getting over that fear of heights. That's the transition, and they all must have that. Point number 5 is keep the listener engaged. So telling a story, whoever's story, from the present tense can help the listener engage. It puts a movie on in the listener's brain, and they are captivated by this scene that's going on in their brain. And if you can tell something in the present tense instead of the past tense, that helps the listener stay there within the story following your telling of this story. And avoid asking rhetorical questions. What that does is it makes the listener come out of the story, makes them think about where they are, what they're doing, what's going on. It disengages them from the story, and you want them right there in the story with you in the present tense. So avoid the rhetorical questions and keep as much in the present tense as you possibly can. Key points to remember: stories must reflect change over time, and those simple, small moments from your life, those everyday moments, those are the most relatable to an audience. Those are likely to be the most engaging and compelling. So think about the simple moments, the ones the most people in your audience are able to relate to. They're often very small. Thank you so much for watching. If you got anything at all out of this video, hit the like button and subscribe. Leave me a 5-second transition moment in the comments. Let's see what stories are potentially out there. For ways to think like a boss and scale up your life, check out this video here, and I'll see you there. As always, keep being amazing.